Hello YouTube, Dave here again. A few days ago I had someone leave a question on one of my videos, and the question was basically, do I think that 4th edition D&D will ever become sort of like a sought after collector's item, and do I think that the values of the books will ever sort of go up? And it's an interesting question because a few years ago I would have said, even just a few months ago, I would have said absolutely not, and I don't think that anything would ever change to make 4th edition something that, you know, people are actually going to go and seek out. But interesting things happened over the last few months when I went and started picking up some 2nd edition AD&D books. Now, you may be asking how 2nd edition AD&D is going to pertain to this, and where I live in Nova Scotia, all the people that I know who played 1st edition AD&D at the time that it was current, none of them adopted 2nd edition Advanced Dungeons & Dragons. There were, sure, lots of people who played 2nd edition, and even some of them were willing to play it, but none of them would buy into it. None of them owned any of the 2nd edition books. You know, I have a friend that I gave a 2nd edition DMG to just because he wanted to look up some information that was in it, but wasn't willing to spend money on it on 2nd edition. Or I think if I did sell it to him, I think it was like $5, or he bought a case of beer or something like that. And anyway, it's one of those things. But 2nd edition AD&D books used to be quite a bit cheaper than they are now. I used to find like the Player's Options books back in the day, even just a couple of years ago, I could find them for you know, anywhere from $7 to $15, and I don't think I ever really saw anything besides maybe a 2nd edition AD&D box set go for more than $15. Even the 2nd edition Monstrous Manual, like the black bordered hardcover book, I think I saw it for, you know, $15, and it was in pretty good condition, but I already had it, so I didn't, you know, need a second one of those. But a few months ago, I decided that I actually wanted to go back and start collecting some 2nd edition AD&D stuff. And the main things that I wanted to get were the Player's Options books. Now, I know that there's sort of a polarizing aspect of 2nd edition, but I have some interesting memories of characters that were made using the Skills and Powers books, so I thought it would be kind of cool to go back and, you know, pick that up. And when I picked that up, they had the other two there. So all of the books were available. The Player's Options, Skills and Powers, and the Combat and Tactic books were around the prices that I kind of expected. They were about $15 to $16, I think, each. The Player's Options Magic or Spells and Magic was $25, $25 or $26. And that had increased by, you know, it was a book that I saw for $15 just a couple of years prior, and now it's all of a sudden, you know, almost doubled in value. And I think that, you know, for me, the reason that is a lot of people who played 2nd edition or started D&D may have started with 2nd edition, moved on to 3rd, and probably got rid of a lot of their 2nd edition stuff. I've had a lot of people comment that, you know, they are getting into D&D and their father or their uncle or someone in their family gave them all of their 2nd edition books. And I think what's happening is that a lot of people who were giving away their 2nd edition stuff because they weren't interested, might start feeling a bit nostalgic and want to go back and collect all those things. So you're starting to see an increase in the prices of these books. So 4th edition, I don't necessarily think there's going to be a wave of nostalgia for 4th edition the way that I feel 2nd edition has sort of benefited over the years. But what I think could possibly happen, and what I think is a very likely scenario, is you're going to, probably in about a decade or so down the road, you're having people who started with 5th edition. I mean, 5th edition D&D has brought in a lot of new players and a lot of fresh blood to the hobby. And eventually, these individuals may want to start exploring the history of Dungeons & Dragons. I know I did. When I started with 2nd edition, I moved into 3rd. And after playing 3rd for a while, it's like, you know, I keep hearing about these other, you know, versions and other editions, and I want to start seeing what, you know, what they had to offer. So, you know, I got the 1st edition AD&D books, and I eventually end up getting the 4th edition. So what's going to happen, I think, or what I think there's a possibility of in the future, is you're going to have a group of individuals who, you know, it's like, well, I've been playing for the 5th edition now for, you know, 6, 7, 8, 10 years. Really like it, but, you know, I want to kind of see what the game was like before that. So because this is 5th edition, a lot of people will naturally probably go to 4th edition to see what that was about. And unlike people in my situation who've been playing D&D and remember all of the controversy and all of the outrage that came with the 4th edition D&D announcement, you're going to have a generation of gamers who weren't affected by that. You're going to have a generation of gamers who weren't upset because 3.5 D&D only came out 5 years prior to the release of 4th edition, and 3.5 came out only 3 years after D&D 3.0 was released. So you've got this really short turnaround that made a lot of people really upset because 3rd edition pumped books out. I mean, right now I still have 2 complete shelves on my bookshelf that are just 3.5 books. So there was a lot of people who were just upset that, you know, all of a sudden their collections are going to be rendered, you know, useless because they're not going to carry over. So you had that outrage, and that was one of, I think, the main things that kind of contributed to people not wanting to play 4th edition. There were a lot of other things, and I'm not going to get into that now, but the timing, I still contend, is probably one of the biggest issues. But with the people who are coming in now, they're not going to have that. You know, they're not going to have that sort of like disgust or upset over, well, all of these books that I bought, you know, over the last 5 years, you know, don't mean anything now because they're not going to be supported anymore. You're going to have people that are like, I like this version, I want to see what the other versions were like. So in a decade or so, there is a chance that 4th edition D&D books might become more sought after, especially after the current batch of books that are readily available in game stores, like the used books and things like that. Those are going to dry up. And I don't know, because 4th edition wasn't as commercially successful, I don't know if it's going to be a situation where there's going to continuously be like a supply of people trading in their 4th edition stuff to replenish what's being sold. So I think once 4th edition, if it ever does, once it starts becoming popular amongst people to go back and buy, once those books that are in the stores now and have been sitting on shelves for years go, it's going to become something that I think will be very difficult to find. And that's the point in which I think the prices are going to start increasing. And you're going to start seeing, you know, players' handbooks going for, you know, maybe $30 instead of, you know, $15. Do I think that 4th edition D&D books are going to get ridiculously expensive? Like, do I think there's going to be a Deities and Demigods style $80 book or more? No. I think at most you're probably going to see books go for about $30 to $40 depending on what they are. Your box sets are always going to be expensive because box sets, once they go out of print, just always seem to command this ridiculous premium on sites like eBay. So those ones would be always pricey to go for, but while I do think that 4th edition can eventually see an increase in interest and an increase in people looking to go out and actually purchase those versions of the rule books, I don't think we're ever going to see it become like the sought-after thing that's going to start charging, you know, top dollar for. So, but a decade or so, probably about, you know, $30 to $40 for your used books, and I'd say that would probably be the cap. But let me know in the comments below what you guys think. Do you think that it's a possible or likely scenario? Do you think that maybe the books might start to go for a higher value? Do you think that they'll probably never have that surge of interest? And again, if you think that, keep in mind that there's new people coming in all the time and they're going to want to learn the history. So even if you're jaded and cynical about 4th edition, there's a whole generation of new gamers coming in that won't be. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have any other suggestions for topics you'd like me to cover, don't hesitate to leave comments below, leave suggestions, because, you know, I always like to find out what people kind of want me to discuss. And like I said, I just thought this was kind of an interesting question, and I've seen sort of a change in other editions of D&D, so it's not outside their own possibility. Anyway, thank you guys very much for watching. Hope you enjoyed. We'll see you next time.